All right, here we are, guys, with another virtual job shadow, and we're here with some virtual job shadowers, our full-time filmmaker members. And look at this, we got some ladies today. Yes. That is right. We have females in the group. They just don't like coming sometimes, but they're here today. So we're with Tanner Town again. I don't know why I keep hanging out with this kid, but yeah, we're shooting a music video for Tan, and Tanner got us this cool location. We actually shot at this location about 4 or 5 years ago. We'll show you some of the footage from it. Personally, I think it looks kind of nasty. I wasn't that good. I didn't understand lighting very well at the time. So hopefully it looks better this time. Hopefully I've improved, and then we'll show you some befores and afters and show you what we're doing to make it look better this time. Last time all we did was shoot with the natural light and turn on the lights that were here. Problem is the natural light kind of overpowers the light that's in here, and so we actually brought some lights this time, and we'll hopefully set up the lighting in a way that looks a little more cinematic, a little more professional. So we're going to walk you through how we set up the lights, but first we're going to set up the piano and decide where we want to put it. This is the first thing I do when I show up to a shoot. Pull my camera out and I look through the viewfinder. What's aesthetic? What looks good to my eye? So I'd come in here. We shot with the piano right in the center here the first time, and we shot most of the video from like this angle and kind of around here, but I don't think I shot it very well. And I think I want to use more of the depth that these windows provide. And I shot this way. I shot back and forth this way, but we have some awesome depth going this way. I'm just kind of looking. I think this way looks better than this way. So I'm going to show you what some of these clips look like in my camera, but I'm seeing I really like this framing here. So I'm thinking of being able to shoot one shot going this way, and then maybe some tighter shots with these windows in the background. So I'm thinking I'd want the piano to open up so that the keys are on this side, so that I could shoot onto the keys right here with those windows in the background there. One thing to keep in mind that we didn't do when I did this shoot last time, but a lot of times I'll rearrange the piano depending on what type of shot I'm shooting. So for this wide shot, I might have Tanner more perpendicular to me so that he's like this, so I can see his face and the keys. And then when I actually come shoot over here, I might decide in order to see the windows, we have to slightly position the piano a little more this way. And so I'll cheat it for some of the close-up shots. So sometimes I do that if I need to get a certain framing I like, or the lighting might be set up a certain way for the wide shot, and then for the tight shots, I'll have to rearrange all the lights to get a very specific look on the face or on the hands. And that's something they actually do a lot in Hollywood movies. So I just always let people know that you can rearrange lighting between different types of shots, mediums, tights, wides, without people really being able to tell. So let's go ahead and bring this piano over. If I can get a couple helping hands here, our largest and strongest humans. I can, I just I want to include everybody.
You don't want to tear anything.
Okay, so I'm kind of scouting out how this looks with the windows back there. I'm just thinking in my head the types of shots I'm going to be doing. I think that would be a good shot of close-up of his face. We got some good depth back there. Over here, got some good depth, doing some side face shots. Looks pretty solid, and we talk about this a little bit in the course, but the 180-degree rule, what that says is you typically only want to be on one side. If there's 360 degrees, you want to stay on 180 degrees the whole time. So ideally, I would never cross this plane right here. So all of my angles, all my shots, ideally would be within that 180 degrees. Yeah, that's the idea, is that you shouldn't be on this side and then all of a sudden cut to a shot on this side. If you want to start filming on this side, you should show a camera movement coming to this new side, and then you can kind of start integrating that side as well. Here's our before on our wide. Here's a close-up on the face before lighting. Here's a close-up on some keys before lighting. Now let's bring in some lighting. So we're gonna start off with our key lights. We have our 300D. Aperture just sent me a bunch of these. I'm super spoiled. They're similar to the 120Ds. They're just supposedly twice as bright. And what I might do here, let's actually throw this on first. We got our key light in now. I have it at 100% right now. We'll see if we want it that bright. So this is what my image looks like now with that big old key light brought in. So I'm gonna bring down. Okay, so I'm trying to match my background light, so the light coming in from the windows back there. So it actually matches pretty well. If the light gets too bright, then the background gets too dark. You want the background darker than him, but not too dark to where you can't see anything back there. So I turned the light down. I don't want the windows to be blown out, but I don't want everything else to be too dark. We're gonna try, see what it looks like with these lights on. Only problem is the color balance is different, because right now it matches the blue light from the windows, but it doesn't match any of the other light, you know? This is our other option, is turn off all the lights like Tanner was saying. Let's just turn off all those backlights and let's just bring in our own backlights. So we're gonna try that now, see if that looks better. So I brought quite a few. I have 4 total, which means we could have like a backlight back here, be behind his, so I'm always, you guys know I like light flares, right? So I'd be shooting one shot from here, so I wanna put one back there so I get a nice flare there. I might do one over here for a straight on shot and then maybe one over here for this type of shot. So now we're gonna get rid of all the 3200 Kelvin lights and just have natural light, and then the lights we set up that will all be 5600 to match the outdoor light. So we'll see if that looks better. And that to me just looks more professional. So we're gonna set up these lights too. I want him to stand out from the background so that he's brighter, but I don't want the background to be black. It's at 100%, I'm gonna bring it down to 80%. Now I'll show you that. That's looking better. Yeah, I think I like that. So you wanna create depth, you want him to be brighter than the background. Usually. You don't want the background brighter, else it's gonna be blown out. So we're making sure those windows are in check, which for the most part they are. Now we're checking our flares here for different angles we'll be shooting at. Kind of want to hide those poles if possible. So we have a little black spot in that doorway. If we put it back there, it should be able to hide the black light stand. The only thing I don't love is that light. I wanted to match with that light to be in the same kind of spots for like a wide shot. It's not very motivated. So a motivated light meaning, would a big flash of light be coming from there naturally? No, there's a window there, right? So you have to kind of decide, do I want lights that are motivated and look like they belong there? I mean, a lot of music videos, they're obviously sets. You know, it's not like they have like 20 lights all around them and they're just making it look pretty. Okay, let's look at gear now. That only took us an hour and a half. So based on the music, I will make creative decisions on how much movement, if any movement, I want to have incorporated. I'm gonna probably, having listened to the song, I'm probably gonna do everything on the slider today. So we got the Rhino. The times when I like to use a slider is when I want very controlled movements. If I use glide cam or a 3-axis gimbal, you can't get as slow of movements that look as clean. You're gonna see little, you know. So when you're moving really slow, I like to use the slider. And we're probably, I honestly haven't even fully decided yet, we're probably gonna get B-roll after this to match what he's saying and stuff that we'll put over top. All right, let's talk about lens choice here. I'm gonna go with my 85. This is a hard lens to use because it's pretty tight. I'm using that instead of a 24-70 because one, its prime lenses are going to be sharper and they can stop down farther if I want to get that 1.4 aperture background. We also have to decide at this point, are we going to do a letterbox? Are we gonna make the aspect ratio even wider? And we usually do. Tanner likes the wide aspect ratio. So I have to keep that in mind. Canons don't have an overlay. Some cameras do, like the Red has an overlay that'll show you where that will be once you do it in post. But I kind of know, I'm just like, okay, if we do put letterbox, we're not gonna see that foreground right there. So if I want to see that foreground, and that's usually what you have to do, is just back up a little bit. Take numero uno, and go ahead and start music.
For all the times that you feel so alone, and when you don't know where to turn or to go.
We got 2 takes from that angle, so I'm gonna call that good. We're gonna get a tighter shot here. Try that. Let's come back a little bit, right there. On these tight shots, you want to be careful not to cut off their chin. The mouth is the subject. That's what you're watching him talk, the mouth and the eyes. So if you cut off the chin, you're starting to cut off the subject. So whenever I do these tight shots, I'd rather cut off his hair and more of his head rather than the chin. So if you're gonna miss framing, I'd miss framing down a little bit rather than too far up, then you start to cut off the, seeing him talk. The last music video we did here, I did it all on the 16 to 35 millimeter lens. I used to shoot everything just wide. As I've gotten gotten better. I've learned different focal lengths that work better for what scenarios. You'll notice that on these close-up shots, we're using an 85 millimeter. With the crop, it comes out to over 100 millimeters, so it's really tight on his face. It gives a really good compressed background to make it, you know, really blurred out. Shallow depth of field there. So anytime I'm doing close-ups, I like to be in this range of 70 to 100 millimeter. You guys have heard me say that a lot, but that's something I didn't know the first couple of years I was filming, and so I would just do everything with the 16-35. I'd get really close and really far away, and it was just a lot less controlled and a lot less purposeful with why I was doing certain things. With this medium shot, I want to have both the hands, the piano, and his face in the shot, but I want him up against the windows to be able to see that depth. So I'm gonna lower the whole thing, and then we're gonna back the whole thing up. All right, so here's where I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Let's actually come this way a little more so I can get more depth. See more of those windows. Keeping in mind our crop that we're gonna do. If we're gonna crop it, we might lose some of that, so we wanna back up even a little more. Or I could pop on a different lens if we're running out of room here, but I kinda like this compressed 85 look. Yeah, so this is where I'm gonna cheat it a little bit and move the whole piano this way a little more so we can see more of his hands playing. Here's what it looks like now. Yeah, we're gonna move the light. Now he's a little bit too shaded because let's move this over a little bit this way. There's like 10 moving parts to get your frame right. Oh, I like. What do you think? Should we try out another light back there? Yeah, so just put that light, go a little higher. Try and scoot that behind the curtain like mine so that it's not lighting up the wall. And action.
That you are never on your own. If you could see the way he sees your soul.
So we are probably going to shoot the intro right here, a close-up of his hands. So put your hands in there, Tan. Where's your starting spot right there? And I want to do like a little reveal off of this piano here. So let's scoot the whole thing that way a little bit. All right, Jake, let's see how that looks. I like the scene inside the piano there, it looks nice. So I'm getting just a lot of options. I end up, when I go in the editing room, figuring out that one of these takes I like a lot better than the rest, and so I try and use as much of that one as I can. And some of these takes I use hardly anything, maybe just 1 or 2 shots just to mix it up. So we're gonna do one more shot on the hands, and then one shot inside here as like a cutaway, so that in case we have a part where there's no good piano or no good singing takes, then we can just cut to something in here. So we always have a safety shot in case that happens, because it usually does. All right, so last shot, we're gonna do a wide. Go ahead and scoot this back, Jake. We're gonna do a push in, so move yours to the back. See how that looks. All right, so we got our key light in the frame, so we're gonna have to scoot that probably higher and back a little bit. Okay, here we go. Go ahead.
If you start to hear the still small voice, maybe you should learn to love yourself.
All right, that is a wrap. Good work, Tanner, grandson. I've had a lot of you guys asking me, how would you light a music video? And it completely depends on the type of music video. I shoot a lot of instrumental performance music videos. And as you could see here when we came, there was plenty of lights available, but we kind of lit it our own way, the way we liked. Obviously, we had a lot of lights to use. But yeah, so that's kind of the basics. The biggest thing is to shoot a lot of angles, give myself a lot of takes. We probably did 12 to 15 takes. That way I have a lot to cut from. Like, again, a lot easier with a slider as far as the actual takes. I can just sit back and watch it. But as far as setting it up, it takes a lot longer. So there's kind of pros and cons. I can get more takes if I'm doing a glide cam or handheld because I can just get it as I go, get the types of shots I want. But then I'm working really hard for 2 or 3 hours. So pros and cons to that. Yeah, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it, guys. If you have any further questions, please let me know. And one last thing I wanted to mention, I get a lot of you guys asking me my editing workflow. And I actually teach my entire editing workflow in the Full-Time Filmmaker course, both in Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro X, so you can check that out in the link below. But on this music video specifically that you just watched, I also did a behind the scenes of me editing this entire music video, so you can see a behind the scenes look at all of the cutting decisions I make, which clips to use, how to color correct it, how to match up all these shots in the first first place using Pluralize. So if you'd like to learn more about my editing workflow, you guys can check that out at fulltimefilmmaker.com. Or if you have more questions about the program, you can check out my free 1-hour filmmaking training where I teach my top 10 secrets to achieving cinematic shots. So you can check that out by clicking over here. Also, go make sure to check out the full video of the final music video on Tanner Grand's YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe, and if you guys have any further questions, please let me know.